Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third and probably, hopefully, last installment of the Simtail podcast, where Ethan has to drive all the way out to downtown to interview this guy in his own home.
Hi.
And yeah, hi, Ari. Oh yeah, by the way, this
Hey,
in
baby.
case you aren't aware, we're sitting here with Ari Chamasmani, local myth, legend, potential father.
Oh, what?
Nah, I'm kidding. The results are negative.
I'm not the father.
So we left off last time talking a bit about how you stole a trick from a guy. He lost his wife. You're attending events.
Ruined his life.
You're basically becoming like
A scoundrel. Dude.
well, to this guy for sure. But you're becoming like a well-known figure in the scene, at least. Like interconnected with different brands. You're working for Skate Slate. Like
you're
going
talking,
to events.
yeah,
You're riding for Loaded.
I see. You were talking about. I'm mistaken. You were talking about that era.
I'm talking about that era. I'm talking about the good old heyday of early 2010s, late 2000s.
Yeah, the good old days, man. That's when cash flow, right?
That's when things were popping. That's when e-commerce was really starting to take off.
Things were going, dude. Trips, slide jams every weekend. Do you remember that?
I remember events constantly.
Oh, it was awesome.
Summer rolls around, and all you would do is plan your weekends around events.
Always something happening. I remember always a slide jam, always like, hey, let's all get in a car and drive to San Diego because there's some weird event and we have to meet everybody and we're going to see all these cool new people. And you didn't know anybody and you want to just interface with all these crazy characters from all these different scenes. And man, that was such a cool time, I think, 2010, 2011.
No, I remember it vividly, dude. At that time, social media was really starting to bloom and blossom, and you're starting to see little sneak peeks, little previews or through a porthole of like what it's like in a certain region area and how people are skating there.
Yeah, right.
And their top dogs and their new moves. It was just really exciting.
It was I think it was unique at least it was unique in our situation because like we started, that was right around when they started sending us on trips and they had decided to dispense us on international missions. So they sent us to like Europe and stuff like that. And we went on the foreign exchange tour where it was like they crowdfunded that whole very dubiously crowdfunded that whole trip.
I remember hearing about it, but I didn't pay too much attention.
Leaned on people's love and love and passion for skateboarding.
I remember there was a bit of controversy, but I'm in no position to be able to speak on it.
Of course, yes.
I wasn't on the tour. You were.
Yeah, I mean, I know we just kind of reaped the benefits of going on this crazy trip with some really interesting characters. I mean, a lot of, I guess what you would pillars of the community at the time.
Right.
But it was, I think more so it was a unique kind of look on, I got a very unique perspective on all the different scenes and all these different micro communities and what they were really into and how they were interfacing with the skateboard. And it was enlightening to me because, coming from LA, it's like we have like, we're blessed in Southern California with these incredible hills in our backyard. And like, even within downtown Los Angeles, there's still hills and there's always this, DNA of incline based skateboarding,
right.
There. I mean, especially you go even to Northern California with like San Francisco or like anything. It's
all the culture is based on the fact that you can let gravity take you down a hill.
Yes. That like you can surf that invisible wave and it's always there. But in a lot of places, especially Europe, there's a lot of really flat places that it's like there are no hills, there's no mountains. For a ways, you have to drive or fly.
Yeah, they're out there. I mean, all civilization nestles into the valleys.
So it's interesting seeing how these communities took the skateboard and found their way, especially the longboarding, found a way to interact with longboarding in their communities and in their that's why I think dancing became so prominent within, I think, the European communities because they had a lot of flat zones and
Right.
you know, they would spend a lot of time doing cross steps and practicing pirouettes and doing a lot of stuff like that. So, it I think that that became, you know, eventually what ended up carrying a lot of the community was that those people in those micro communities coming together and kind of maybe moving to bigger cities within Europe and then bringing, you know, bring their longboards with them, starting skate communities within larger cities, and it just growing and growing and growing from there. I mean, man, I don't know. It's just it gave traveling around and during that era really just enlightened me to all just the different ways people interact with the longboard, you know? And I
Right.
think that's in turn shaped how I've interacted with the longboard. You know, I mean, you spend enough time with these, you know, interesting people in different places, you know, all over the place, and like you, I don't know, it influences your skateboarding naturally. You know, you don't choose that; it just happens. You know, and I guess like seeing all these different places, going in like skating hills, skating flats, skating like I don't know, all these different terrain, all these different types of terrain has influenced my skateboarding. You know, I'm always looking for a tool that, you know, I'm always looking for a skateboard that is going to be able to tackle all of these different scenarios as they kind of come at me, especially here in LA with like the multi-dimensionality of all the terrain that we have access
I mean, yeah,
to.
LA
You
has
know?
like a nice mixture of, you know, flat, super flat plazas. I mean, you go dance by the beach where, you know, there's like almost no hill and like a huge parking lot. So it feels like, I mean, I got closest thing to a plaza in Europe. But then you go a little ways away and all of a sudden you're bombing down a canyon run.
It's just I just find it I just kind of I find it interesting how these different, again, like different communities have their kind of chosen their flavor of how they interact with the skateboard, and it really influences, you know, naturally the type of skateboard that they're going to use within that.
And you know, I think that's why maybe like we don't see such big dancing communities in the US. I mean, there are, and there's some that like
Sure.
have quite a good population, but like you look at Europe, you know, these heavily densely populated cities that have like these really nice flat meeting places. You're naturally going to get all these people that get interested into the sport and they have like a good place to practice, and since
Yeah,
they're
and
communicating and
I
skating with
think
each
their
other, they just
culture
get better and better.
their culture is a little different in the sense that it caters more towards like people getting together more often.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, you're right.
Like people spend more time together.
And
I think
outside of
they're
their house,
outside,
yeah.
like not at work or not focusing on career driven kind of goals or so on and so forth. I think that it's like there's more time or emphasis within those communities to like, hey, let's get together and skate, you know? And I
Right.
think that dancing specifically like really caters to that kind of mindset in the same way as like breakdancing kind of caters to that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
you just need to pull
It's
up to a
just like
spot with the gear.
everybody just like gets together and kind of like throws down, you know?
Yeah, and you're like hyping each other up, you know. Like if you go on like a long bike ride, I
Sure.
imagine that's kind of hard to have like a conversation, just chill with the homies, because people are just trying to cover distance.
I mean, you can kind of still get that with skateboarding, you know, especially when you're like covering ground in like in, you know, in different terrains in different cities. But like it's interesting that this skateboard is this kind of all-encompassing vehicle that people have definitely evolved, you know, created their own little their own have created their own ways of interacting with it within, you know, their environments.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a medium of expression and
Sure.
interpretation of your surroundings,
Sure.
and a social lubricant, if you will. There might
Yeah.
be a better choice of words there, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that
The-
it definitely gives you
the
something
social
to talk about.
astroglide of.
I mean, I can tell you, I definitely have like traded skate product to like, you know, get to different places. Like homies give me a ride somewhere in Europe or something. Oh, we gotta get to this next city. Will you give me a ride for a
Well,
set
yeah,
of
I mean,
Otangs
if you're in the scene and in the community, I mean,
universal
gear is a currency.
universal
Yeah.
currency / language.
Yes,
People,
100%.
oh, of course, man.
I will always need new wheels.
Get in the car. We'll take you there.
Yeah, no problem. Two sets of stimulus. Yes.
Dude, I did that. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that like maybe answers the question to a degree that it like.
Well, I mean, my question was more so about like what was the scene like in the early 2010s, and so when longboarding was really popping off, and like you said, cash flow was
Yes.
good, e-commerce was launching.
What was the scene like? Yeah, let's get back on track. What was the scene
another
like?
tangential episode? But no.
Well, I mean, the scene was definitely again like slide jams every weekend. There was I think a lot more community. There was more like more drive to get together and get involved. I don't know if I feel that as much. Maybe I don't know if that's social media or pandemic or what did that. But
Yeah.
it's shifted now.
It has shifted. I mean, we're in the modern age. I feel like there's probably more people skating than ever before, but at that time it was like a renaissance for longboarding, or even like really
Yeah.
a birth for modern longboarding, in the sense that
Yeah.
people would go out and they would roll around with their homies, and that was just kind of it. And then like these videos are coming out of like riders really doing stuff no one had ever seen before, like cross-ups and dancing and stuff. And people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's not just pushing. I can like move my feet around.
Yeah, it was
you know?
exciting. It was like who's pushing the bar, the next one pushing the bar, like what
I
event.
always thought like at that moment, like people had seen skateboarding, they've seen vert skating, they've seen street skating, and it's been
Yeah,
around for a
yeah, right.
while. And they're like, cool, we kind of figured it out. That's what you do with a skateboard. And then like dancing comes around, you're like, and downhill, and
it
you're
was
like,
new.
whoa, yo, did you hear there's like a whole new genre that just dropped? Like,
It was still new.
yeah, people are jumping on it.
What the hell is that? Oh my god,
And
dude.
yeah, it was just an exciting time. I mean, that
I
got me
think
into it.
definitely around that time was exciting, man. The slide jams were cool. I remember everybody was doing the biggest slides and
dude.
like stuff like that.
When slide jam culture started popping off, that was my shit.
That
I
was
like, this is what I want.
It was very exciting for me too. I think that was I vie for a day where that maybe becomes prominent again, but maybe it's come and gone. The excitement is like but
Like I'm not trying to sound like some like back in my day, in the good old days, and this modern generation doesn't they do it differently than I did. But like I was saying at the time, like there's this whole new style of skateboarding that's emerging, or
Sure.
at least becoming well known and popular. And slide jams were just an evolution of the slides you would do in between like dance steps that you would see in old Colton videos.
It was like slope style was like this whole new thing that was like developing where like people were just learning to surf the hill
Yeah.
on a skateboard versus it just being this like straight hand bombing just down,
Right.
death bombing down hills. People were looking at it more as like, oh, this is a new medium to like be expressive upon. And that I think was really exciting around that time. At least for me, I was really excited about that because like, I had been developing like, cross-legged slides and stuff
Right.
like that. And then introducing elements of like dancing into that and finding ways to incorporate, flat ground stuff, which I was also doing on the side, but it wasn't the main thing I was focused on. Again, it was like, because terrain, as
Right.
it was like, it was like finding ways to blur the line between those two was really something that was exciting for me. And bringing those to slide jams was like, that was super cool, dude.
No,
And
I remember like
I still think there's something there. I don't.
no, I agree.
You know?
That's my favorite way to skate is like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do whatever I can do on a skateboard,
Yeah.
given whatever speed I'm traveling at, what style
Sure.
of board I'm on. But, I do remember in early slide jams, it was like, whatever you can do, we want to see it, like
Yeah.
show us what you got. If it's
Yeah.
if you do a cross tip at the top or something like that, you go into a cross-legged slide, cool.
Yeah,
If you do just
man.
glove down stuff, do a big one, sick. But then there was a moment there where it kind of shifted to we're like, all right, bigger is better, and all we want to see is bigger and faster.
Was that when what's his name was boosting the kicker ramp and just doing the like
I think
huge
that
airs?
was the next thing. You know?
Who was
but
that?
that was Ross. Ross Druckery was
Ross
right into that.
Druckery, and then also
Brian Bishop.
Brian Bishop,
Yeah.
man, the
Brian
Superman,
Bishop, dude.
just would do this
Pivotal in the scene. You know,
huge
Like-
boosts, man.
I thought he was so sick.
He would blast down the hill, full blast, and like hit those kickers and like grab. And you remember they do the longest air. Him and Ross Druckery did that at the
yeah.
downhill disco that one year, where it was just like
It was brutal. It was a slam fest.
it was so insane,
So scary. They were covering like 30 feet. I
30,
think was
40
the
feet, yeah.
longest. Who did it? It was either Ross or Will Royce.
Oh,
I
it was
can't remember.
insane, man.
But that was just something I was not into.
That was again, it became that like weird unattainable skateboarding that was like, you know, this has harking back to like stuff that I'm you know, this is out of my reach.
No, I think it's
You
kind
know,
of funny.
like-
This is my personal
but
theory.
it's so cool that it got there with
It is,
longboarding.
and it was exciting, you know, because it was, you know, you always want to go to an event and try to see something new, and then there's only so many ways you can slide a board, you know.
Yes,
If you
right.
think about it, and there's only I mean, there's tons of tricks, but there's only so many tricks, especially
Sure.
that you can do on a hill, right,
Sure.
at speed. And so I guess the natural progression, if you want to see something really cool and like jaw dropping, is like, what if dudes just start flying through the air really fast?
Well, yeah, but you remember like at the like again, we like the last episode we were talking about like the San Pedro shred, you know, where they had like the car parked on the hill
Right, and
with
people were airing
the
over it.
flat on the top of the car. That was, I think, I wish that had continued on at that level, because I think that was super exciting for how people were reimagining how you skate down the hill. You know, remember like big wood like ramp they built in the side of the hillside that you could
Yeah.
go up the side of that thing, and they were doing the like
Who did that first? Was it Giant's Head or was it San Pedro Shred first?
Giants Head did
Giant's
it
Head
first.
did it first. That's what I thought.
But
yeah.
Giants Head did it in almost like a weird Canadian kind of like those bike ladders, you know, those like weird bike ladder things that they build in the middle of the woods where the bikes go off and stuff.
Yeah.
Canadians
I know
kind
what
of
you mean.
did that with Giants Head, and those wall rides and stuff, and like dirt rides and
Right.
like all that weird kind of like almost jungle gym type skateboarding, where it's like you add this extra element of like it's free ride, but it's also like I'm gonna skate into this corner and like a dozen people are gonna throw pine cones at me, and I'm gonna try and, you know, like
I mean, that was honestly the best, worst tradition of Giant's Head, in my opinion, as someone who got pegged right in the collarbone as I was coming through. And like at the end of my run, I was like pulling out
I
like
remember
pine
that.
cone spines from my collarbone.
I
Like,
never went to Giant's Head, but I saw
shame.
so many photos. That was one that I was always like, dude,
best event,
that
yeah,
looks
in my opinion, that I've been to.
so much fun.
Favorite event by far.
That wasn't the event where they were throwing axes and like like they had chainsaws and they had set things on fire. Was that Colorado? I think that was that Colorado.
Yeah, I think that's a Colorado event.
That was a Colorado
Yeah,
event. That
Devil's,
sounds very
Devil's
Venom.
Peak, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah, I think that was a Devil's Peak
sounds very
downhill,
Venom.
just after
yes.
party. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, Giant's Head was a little more free ridey though. Yeah.
Giant's Head was like pure free ride. It was my first actual like major longboarding event I ever went to.
They're still doing Giant's Head, right?
Yeah, there's another one happening this year. But I remember hearing about it and seeing videos on early YouTube, and me living in Plano, Texas, super Flatville, who knew how to do like a frontside 180 and then knew how to do it switch. I was like, I could do this event. And I get there and I see this hill and the steepness of these corners and the amount that it like drops, and I'm just like, I cannot do this event. I barely survived, dude. I ended up just doing like stink bug pendies all the way down.
Because it's a lot steeper than it looks in.
And it's narrow.
Yes, right.
And I'm in Plano, so it's like there's like a 2% grade, and then it's in a parking lot, so it's like, you know, you got like 200 feet of room.
Giant's Head was popping in what, 2011, right? Giant's Head.
I think the first one was like 2008, because the first one I went
Okay.
to was Giant's Head 3.
I mean, God, I missed the boat on that one. I don't.
But, you know.
I stayed local. Canada was like definitely that was a little far for me.
Which is so funny because you're on like the same coast basically.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
like
why.
it's like a 18-hour drive.
I did
from
end
here.
up in Vancouver like once, which was Van was insane.
Remember, like in the early 2010s, like Vancouver, like Canada, was like the mecca for
Yeah.
modern downhill, and
Yeah.
and longboarding in general,
Yeah,
but mostly
Vancouver
speed
was-
stuff. You know,
Vancouver is crazy. Everybody was just developing in that scene was like just so talented.
it
You
was
know,
so good, and they had like such cool events that had been going for so long.
so
like-
much style.
hell, even Danger
so, and again, another situation where the environment dictated the way their boards were developing. You were
Right.
seeing
Totally true.
Lanyards and Rain come out with these free ride monsters. These like the Nemesis was like a coveted board for me.
Wasn't it the Demon Seed was the first one?
I still the Demon Seed's over there in
And
the
then-
corner.
Yeah. Well, you fit the Demon Seed.
I had the
wanted
Demon
one.
Seed was my downhill rig for a while, but then the real free ride machine was the Nemesis.
It was a little shorter and
shorter.
just a single drop.
And
too.
then Rain came out with their whole like well, not Rain, but Rain was doing the Nemesis, but then they also had like Lanyards coming out with like the 9 to 5 and like the Switchblade.
Oh my god! I remember the 9 to 5 came out. I was
And
like,
it
I
wa-
need that board. That's the board that's going to propel me
It's such a cool
into
board, dude.
being good at this. You know?
Yeah, because it was all these free ride machines that were like symmetrical based drop through monsters that were just
Yeah.
designed to slide.
And they were designed for people with size like 11 shoes and up.
Yeah,
Me as a very comfy stout 9 size shoe, I was like, these boards are
There was
wide.
like Quebec Longboards, again, another Canadian
Quebec as
company
well.
doing like free ride machines, drop through symmetrical shapes that were
And
all
I remember seeing these brands like on YouTube, like in the early 2000s when I was still in high school. And then when Loaded came about, like all of a sudden there's dancing. I was like, whoa, you can do other
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah.
too. Like there's different kinds of skating that you can do on these big boards.
Yeah,
you know?
that was interesting because like dancing felt like something that was so like surfing related, at least for me.
Right.
I always equated it to like longboard surfing. So like that's kind of where the whole roots for it, for me at least, kind of where I drew from. But I knew that like Loaded kind of had started also nurturing this like weird zany Loaded culture of dancing, which was
Right.
being pioneered by like Adam and Adam
Right,
and
right.
their oddball kind of just color outside the lines style of skateboarding. But I mean, again, a lot of people took that and ran with it, and it matured into what I think a lot of modern day dancing is right now.
No, this is my theory, but I think like you're right. Like it all stems from those guys and making it like this very publicly known like style of longboarding. That's like
Yeah.
this is a way you can skate. Like do with it as you please. And then Europe, because of their culture and the design of the cities and whatnot, like took that and really ran with it. Like all of a sudden you see like,
Yeah.
these crazy tricks that are coming from these dudes on these massive boards that. It's like that's not what original dancing was. It was just board
Well,
walking and maybe a slide and a pivot or like a
even-
shove it.
Even Adam
And
and
now it's
those
like
even
720 stuff.
even Adam and those dudes had moved on from the big boards. Like, remember, they
Yeah.
left behind the Loaded Dancer, the
Right.
original one, like the big piece of timber, and they moved on to their own thing. But it's funny that like Europe was like, no, hold up. Like, if you guys aren't going to sell this huge board, we're going to, all of these companies will offer these massive pieces of wood
That are much lighter.
that are much lighter and more geared,
and,
essentially
and bigger tails so we
just
can get this thing in the air.
overdeveloped, dancers. But it's just amazing that like, again, it was like an answer to that culture and that style, and developing out of people having a need for that in their environment. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And I think that like, but it's cool that like it's just interesting that the DNA starts in an environment that's like totally separate from that, and then it's like it kind of evolves based on how it gets to that like that ecosystem. You
Yeah,
know
they
what I
took
mean?
it, they adopted it, it meshed well with like their surroundings, and they just ran with it.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, yeah, everyone, they're still going to do cross steps and Peter Pans and nose manos and stuff, but like all these new, like the Aero Slash, the Gazelle, like all this stuff that like, and I was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of these things. It's like entirely their own thing.
They put all this like names to it, which was crazy. We were just let's just do this thing. I mean, I think Adam was calling it the Tiger Claw, just entirely out of like, what do we call this?
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't know. Call it the
Tiger Claw.
Tiger Claw.
Just
you know?
Yeah, most of the names were was a joke. Do you remember those like early trick tips that
Absolutely.
like Loaded would do?
Absolutely.
Like they would just like post like random people's trick tips and stuff. And
Yes.
there's stuff like the Bone Shaker,
Yes.
the Venom Sting.
The double rainbow, dude.
Double Rainbow is aptly named, in my opinion.
But
Shout
still,
out to James Kelly, one of the MVP,
Yes,
like most influential longboarders ever.
truly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, again, these were like, you know,
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna check my camera. It's probably turned off like 10 minutes ago.
check it. Let's check it.
Hope you enjoyed that AI generated photo that I found somewhere.
Oh, the one of the
anyways.
shrimp doing the slam dunk.
Dude, that photo
It was
is
so
sick.
dope.
So sick. I want
Um,
that as a poster above my bed.
yeah, man. I mean, what a cool time. What else was there? There was like a lot of Malibu community events. Like there was like Dusty's Hit It and Quit It was around, I think,
Right.
which was super cool.
Which I missed out. I think I was on another trip somewhere, but I remember hearing about that. And it's
Jeez.
like 40 people rolling down these hills.
Beautiful.
It's just insane. I mean, we'll pull up the photo right now. In fact, I found it the other day.
Did you see that one of
Yeah, the
everybody,
one
like-
where it's I forget who's leading. It's like Dusty and Dane in front.
It's
I think.
amazing.
Yeah, and then like Pack just
It's
dense behind.
just colors. It's
It really
so
is.
cool. I was like,
so
this is
badass.
special. Even then, I recognized like this is like a really, really special thing. Like, holy, we're gonna look back. I was thinking back then, like, I'm gonna look back on this and be like, oh, you see this, kid? This is what we were doing back in our day.
This is what Grandpa did.
Those wheels were made from petroleum.
Really, dinosaur bones, Grandpa? You're crazy.
No nuclear fusion back then.
Damn kids in your hoverboards don't even have to kick and push.
You don't even know what it is like to have muscles.
But yeah, man, I remember. I mean, I feel like we are like that right now, reminiscing about the good old days. But like, you know, a lot of people in the scene now who are coming into it have been here for like 2-3 years or so, maybe 4 years, which is a good amount of time in it.
I know.
They have no concept of what it was like when modern longboarding really hit, you know,
mean-
and when YouTube was really popping off.
Dude, when the algorithm was still like geared towards like, we need people.
Yes, exactly.
Please send us your videos.
It was an exciting time,
We'll
man.
show them to
Like,
everybody.
it was so sick, and
It's funny because like you go
I don't know,
back
it's
and you
just so
look at
different now.
you look at videos from that era and you look at how many views those videos had from that era, and it's like 5 million views, 6 million views. And
Yeah.
you're like, the metrics can't be right on that. But like the algorithm was just showing it openly
my
to
God.
everybody. So they were actually getting that many views.
I remember the first loaded video that I was involved in, Too Much, which was like me, Dusty, and
I
Alex
do
Tung.
remember that video.
And very
so good.
briefly, Flat Top.
And you were on you were on the longboard Larry double penguin.
Yeah, DK Penguin.
DK
man.
Penguin.
Yeah. I remember when that came out, I was like so stoked. I was like trying to impress this girl. And I was like, hey, yeah, just, my sponsor just dropped a video of
Here's
me.
a
You know,
link.
Like, no. She was standing next to me. I was like, let's pull it up real quick. And like, you know, it's at 10.
I don't believe you.
It was like just posted. It's like 10 minutes later, it's got like 20,000 views.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Right?
show it to me. Let's
And she's
see it.
like, whoa, 20,000 views, that's really cool. And
Oh,
then
you must be popular or something.
and then like after the video finished playing, it was like a 4-minute video. I refreshed the page and it was like from 20,000 went like boom 70,000 views within 4 minutes. And she was like, "Oh my God, Ethan Koshat, sponsored longboarder."
Oh my God, you're
And
gonna
it-
be
I
on
don't
like TV or something.
I don't know. I was just like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like I made it." I was like 19, 18.
You
or
made it.
something.
I
was
know.
like, "Yeah, sick. What am I gonna eat tonight? I have $5."
that was funny. I mean, it was interesting that like culture also was kind of reacting to it too, because people were still shocked by it. You'd see people
Yeah.
skating down hills, and it was like, how do you guys not die? Like
Right.
everybody immediately would see it and think you were like suicidal or something.
Well, like, and even within the scene, people were shocked by what other people were able to
that's
pull
true.
off.
That is true. Also,
I remember when I
Yes.
came back to the States from Peru, I was in Texas, and there was this really terribly grainy video that was like, it was so dark because it was at sunset of a super young Liam Morgan blasting an 80-foot
yes,
slide like on some hill,
yes.
which is like a pretty normal length these days for the most
Yeah,
part if
right,
you know what
right.
you're doing. But like it was mind blowing. The whole Texas scene like shook when that video hits. Like everyone's like, dude, did you see this like little kid who just did? And he's like doing this, like as he's sliding, rolling down the windows and stuff.
I remember that.
It was on
yeah.
Nursh wheels. It was for like a big ass Nursh wheel.
He wasn't. Was he not? He hadn't made it to ABEC 11 back then.
No. He was like 14, and Nursh was like
Wow.
Nursh was big in Texas at the time. Everybody rode Nursh.
I have an old photo that I found from Santa Barbara, like really far back when I was.
I think you sent it to me, and I'm
Yeah.
showing it right now, actually.
When I
Yeah.
was it's a group photo of a bunch of us.
And here we are zooming in on a young Liam
And
Morgan.
Liam is a very young child in that.
Yeah, he
that
was like
photo.
14, 15.
I mean, we
and
were
he was
all
crazy good.
children in that photo. It's a group photo of
I don't know.
children.
I look back on your photos. You look exactly the same, like identical. Hair is just like you look like you look like a mango pit that got sucked by like a kid.
Great, thanks, dude. That's a really good one. I'm
Look like a
seeing that.
troll doll.
I'm seeing that in my head, and
You know
I'm,
what I mean.
I'm seeing the mango pit and the troll doll overlaid over the top of each other.
Yeah.
And
You're like a Super Saiyan, but the wind is blowing really hard. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
I just want a quick AI montage right now of just
Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Don't worry. Yeah. It's really funny to say this stuff and then like go back and edit it and then like throw that stuff in
can you
there.
chat GPT, like I want to see Ari as a mango pit, sucked mango pit,
I don't know. I don't really use
or
a lot of AI
sucked
stuff.
beach pit.
The stuff that I've pulled up, I just literally search for like bad AI photos and then
It's gonna
this
be
is what
me
comes
with
up.
like teeth that just keep going.
No, you'll just have like 7 fingers or something, or your arm will fuse into your leg perfectly.
perfect.
Yeah, you look like some sort of Lovecraftian creature.
That's what we're going for.
Some sort of Cronenberg. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are good times. It's really hard to
I mean, think about how I think it's really.
communicate what it was like.
It's funny because like I think that like the Gel Lab was still happening. The Wednesday sessions were popping during that era too, and I think about how the sessions have changed too over all of this this period where like we used to go to like free ride hills and do like the session would be just everybody posted up on a free ride hill at night and like
I remember going to a few of those of yours
just doing big slide jams.
and getting a ticket in Calabasas. That sucked.
Calabasas, all
Yeah.
the rich people got freaked out.
We got rolled up on by like 20 cops or something. It
Yeah,
was,
well,
I don't know, it was like 10 cop
Kim
cars.
Kardashian saw us and she was like, "Oh my god,
She was like, oh, my implants are in danger.
there's a bunch of humans on my property."
They're not bothering anyone, but
Oh my god.
go ruin their night. Yeah, that sucked. You like dipped away into the shadows while like me being a lawful
I
person.
straight just Homer
was like,
Simpson.
Sir, sit on the curb. And I was
Homer
like, okay.
Simpsoned into the hedge as you guys just
Yeah, I
all
remember
got
looking around and be
arrested.
like, "Where's Ari, man?
Y'all-
We didn't get arrested. We just got sat down, took our IDs, they gave us a ticket, and then they didn't even write the
I
ticket."
love the
Actually
show
didn't
of
actually write
force
it.
that Calabasas PD decided to flex on us that night. We were skateboarding and they did not hold back. They sent there was like 20, 30 police cars that showed up that night, dude.
Dude, it was like the whole squad.
The
They had like
whole
nothing
precinct
else to do.
was like, "Yo, we all just got done at Red Robin for our company dinner. Let's go and smoke some skateboarders tonight,
Dude,
dude."
100%. I remember one of them saying like, he's like looking around. We're like, "What's the ticket for?" He's like, you're damaging the road." We're like,
they were
with what? With our gummy soft wheels? Like the road is damaging our wheels. Like what
It
are you-
was amazing.
what are you talking
man.
about? He's
I
like, "Yeah, you're
remember
tearing
how
up- you're
deep
tearing up the
they
road."
showed up. They were so deep that night. There was
Whatever,
there
I
was
mean,
like 30 police cars.
That's besides the point. I mean, everyone has, their issues with police, if you've been
Anyway,
skating long
it's just
enough.
interesting that yes, sometimes the community doesn't react so favorably to a bunch of skateboarders. Sometimes the environment
Well,
is
at
hostile.
midnight, I think if you bring 100 people anywhere at midnight, there's going to be some people that
I
don't
wonder
look
what
upon
they
you
thought.
favorably.
We were like an angry mob, just like storming the hills.
I don't know. They were like, "This is it. This is the beginning of LA Riots
The
2.0 Electric Boogaloo."
Children are revolting.
Yeah.
Dude. It's time.
Squash him before
Time
it's too
to
late.
quell the rebellion.
That's 100% what it is. I think that's what it was.
Send in the shock troopers.
Man, yeah, that night sucked. I actually went to the courthouse because, it said it was my first. it was-
Recently? Oh,
No, for that ticket. I got the ticket, and it was my first ticket ever. I had a completely clean record, being good boy.
I got a question for you. Have you ever gotten like a ticket? Well, okay, so this is what you've gotten a ticket for skateboarding aside
Yeah.
from this one. Like any like speeding kind of related or like downhill related tickets?
Yeah, in Peru. Well, I was like 16, and I remember I was bombing this hill in this like beach community or something. It was like up on this bluff, right? Like all the buildings, and then the beach is like down below, and there's like this big road that leads down to it. It's a perfect downhill, super smooth, and then there's a long straight to just ride it out. And I'm like just bombing this hill over and over. I was like working my way up from the middle, being like, oh, cool, I can handle it, I can handle it.
Progression. Yeah.
I was probably going like 35 miles an hour or something like that. You know, but it felt super fast with no helmet on and no gloves. Right?
I mean, that's pretty death defying,
I was like
dude.
14 or 15. Anyways, the cops pulled up, and
They wrote your ticket.
I didn't speak Spanish very good at the time. And I was like, oh, mi papá está ahí, over there. Like, my dad's up there, you know? And I was like, oh, I'm American.
They're like, give this kid a ticket.
And I think when I was like, I'm American, they're like, okay, cool.
Got it.
Yeah. And they're like,
Ching.
I remember them being like, papeles, passport. And so
Dunzo.
I didn't have that. I was skating. I didn't have that stuff on
finished,
me. I was at the beach, dude. So they like put me in the back of their SUV, you know, their like SUV police car or whatever, which was just like really, really like low, unfunded, just messed up, just
beat
tarnished.
you up with a mango, dude.
They take me to the local police department, and they like, you know, they don't put me in the jail, but they like sit me down. I'm like, and there's like 3 big cops like standing around me and stuff. And I was able to get a hold of my dad, you know, who was like literally 2 doors down having beers or something like that. And so like, I didn't know what they were saying. They speak Spanish, and they're just like back and forth for a while. And I was just like, what the heck is happening? And he's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, Dad, what was all that about? He's like, well, it was bullshit, dude. Like, so they brought you in because you were speeding and you were breaking the law. And since you were an American.
But did they issue you a ticket?
No, it gets better. They're like, oh, since you're American, you know, they said they could take your passport for breaking the law. And I was like, what? I'm like 14. Like, what the hell? I was like, so what? Are we good? And he's like, yeah, I agreed to give them my tires. I was like,
so there was an exchange of goods.
Yeah,
dude.
I was like, wait, you're what? He's like, yeah, I got to go back home real quick. Got to get the old tire sitting in the garage, and I'm going to give it to him to put on their police car.
That's funny.
And I was like,
I'm
are you
funding the
kidding
police
me?
station, and that's how we're going to get you out of trouble.
I mean, that was a lot of how it was in the early 2000s in Peru. You could just kind of get out of stuff if you had something, if you could barter.
If you could contribute to
I think the word is bribe
municipal
here,
police
but
police force.
In Peru, it was barter.
We were always coveted. Like, we always coveted the fabled speeding ticket in Malibu. That's what we wanted.
Oh yeah, for breaking the speed limit.
That
on your
was like
skateboard.
a trophy. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it was because you had to pay for it, but it was. I always wanted it because I wanted to frame one. But we always got like cool cops. They'd pull us over.
Oh, dang it! Oh, we got Officer Awesome.
They'd pull us over and they'd high five us. You know,
They're like, that's really cool. Do you know I used to skateboard? Blah, blah.
No, but really, I mean, in all honesty, like we were very fortunate to get like these cops that were like, a lot of times they'd just start like, you know, go on diatribes about, oh man, you know, back in the 70s, we used to skate pools. Did you guys skate pools? It was like, yeah, man, sometimes, dude. Oh man, that's so cool. How big are those wheels? You know, it's like, oh yeah, they're 70 mil, you know. And you know how fast do you guys get going? It'd almost be to the point where
maybe he's trying to get you to confess to breaking
then
the
we're
law.
like, we'd all be looking at each other. Like, I remember there were a few times like Dusty and I got in trouble, and we'd be like looking at each other like, are they just trying to like
they are.
do the cool guy in and like get the info from us so that they could go back to the station and be like, I got an in with these guys and I got all the info.
Got the confession right here.
They go 50 miles per hour. This is where they skate. We should send an officer at this time.
Oh yeah, maybe they're trying to track to, like, you know, be ahead of the game for when
they needed a man on the inside.
I was thinking that they try to get you confessing to a crime right then and there.
There was one time where I remember Dusty, Daniel Fismer, and myself were all skating this free ride hill at a gel lab, and a police officer rolled up at the bottom of the hill and turned his lights on, and everybody's like, oh, that's it, session's over, you know. And we get to the bottom of the hill, and he like gets out and he starts high-fiving us, and he's super hyped, and we're like we're all like weirded out. And the guy tells us, he's like, I'll give you guys a ride back to the top of the hill.
Oof.
And Dusty, Fizz and I all looked at each other, like everybody's biting their lower lip. And he opens the back door, and we like see that like plastic lined back
Yeah.
seat with the cage windows, and,
And
we're
the,
just
and the
like,
cutout for your hands to be behind your back. too.
and there was like there's a deputy in the front seat, and he's leaning over, looking through the little cage, and he's like, "Come on, guys, get in." And, and we were like, "Oh,
That's so good.
Oh man, dude, this is so uncomfortable." And then like I thought to myself, what are they gonna do? Like, what, they can't just drive us away, can they? I mean, and even if they do, like, what kind of story is this gonna be? Like that was entrapment. Like
100%.
so like we all get in the back of the car, and Fizz and Dusty and I are all like looking at each other wide eyed, like,
Wow,
I
you
can't
actually
believe.
did it.
Oh, we did it. The guy closes the door, and I thought that was it. Like as soon as the door goes clink, I'm like, oh, dude, like that's it. We are going to jail
he's
now.
like,
We're going to. He's
3
just gonna
easy
U-turn.
fines
We're
right
just
here.
gonna U-turn. He's just gonna Dukes of Hazzard, like U-turn, and then go right back to the station, dude. But he surprisingly drives us to the top of the hill, and there's like maybe like that was like good time. That was during the heyday of like when slide jams were like, sliding was cool. So there was like, I remember 35 people there that night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a big session. And they pull up to the top of, it was Parkway Calabasas. They had this like cul-de-sac at the top.
Yeah, I remember.
And the police pull up to the top of this thing, and they turn their lights on, and the
freak everybody
deputy
out.
looks over and he goes, "You want to mess with your friends?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Pretend like you're locked in here, like slap on the windows." And Dusty and all of us are kind of looking like, man, are we like really pretending, or are they really just gonna like and then peel out?
and then
like
actually take you away.
actually just double flex on
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
like
Gotcha
psych,
twice.
now you were actually going to jail now, But like we pull up and they turn the lights on, and like they're like everybody starts freaking out, and we're all in the back windows like like slapping on the windows, like Fizz, Fizz
He's an
is actor,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's like, give him an opportunity. Fizz is like, yeah, sure. Oh yeah, you need me to play the part? I'm in. Like so everybody's slapping on the windows, Dusty and all this, and like people's faces, everybody's mortified, and they come on the mic and they're like, "Party's over, guys." And like everybody's freaking, like kids just started running. Like people are like fleeing, like they think this is
Wow.
it's over, And then they're just like, "Psych, have a good night, guys." And they like open the back doors and they let us all out, and everybody's so confused. People like don't even know what's going on. It's like, how is this? This doesn't make sense. The police are not supposed to support us. Like
They like literally
doing
just
this.
watched Superbad, and they're like, we're gonna be those cool cops. Yeah, we're gonna be
truly, I think
Bill
it was one
Hader
of
and
those
Seth Rogen.
evenings where like maybe they were just like, "Hey Chuck, I think maybe we need to give one to him." Like, like let's let this one go. Like
yeah. You
I
have
don't
nothing
know.
better to do on a Tuesday night.
It was
or
so
Wednesday night.
funny, and I remember they went to the bottom of the hill at the end of that, and they were like, "Hey, you guys, come on down." Like and we were just like, "This is not happening."
Oh my
Like,
God.
what universe did we suddenly just kind of like fall into? Where the police support us skating down these big hills and like doing all this stuff.
You get lucky sometimes. You get the cool ones.
But
The
maybe
Officer Awesome.
maybe that was just the era. Maybe that was like 2011. It was just there was that much hype, and people were just that stoked about seeing something unique and weird like that like the police roll up on this, and they're like, "We got to take down a bunch of skateboarders." And they show up to this hill, and it's not just a bunch of skateboarders like grinding and destroying a curb or doing something. They're like full on. Sending it down this big hill.
It's the equivalent of
you
a bunch of
know.
like 5-year-olds riding their bikes down a grass hill.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
so
at
I
night,
imagine like these
the
guys.
adult equivalent.
One of the guys was a skateboarder, so immediately like awakens some memory deep within his psyche, buried from his childhood.
core memory.
Yeah.
Wow, core memory.
And he was fully just leaned way into it.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. That was
Dang.
definitely a memory. But I mean,
Wow,
I
lucky
think
you. I've never really had a cool one like that.
I think that
personally.
maybe was it was a testament to the era and the time, the fact that it was new and exciting for people, that they would see stuff like that and they wouldn't react where it was like, "You kids," they were like, "Whoa,
Right.
this is cool." Oh my God, there's 30 of them. we can't break up this party, like.
No, of course. Like
this is
kids,
too cool.
kids being kids. We'll let them go.
I mean, they would when they left, they're like, "We're not gonna get any like ambulance calls, like to come, like if we have to scrape you off the pavement, we're going to get in trouble. So please, like, don't say anything.
Yeah.
You kids got this, right? It's like,
Like, we're good, officer.
we're
Thank you.
good.
Have fun. Be safe. I'm
yeah,
gonna put up another AI photo real quick while I check my camera.
More shrimps dunking on sharks, dude.
Just let your imagination run wild.
I love it. Hit it. Roll that.
And we're back from the break. Sorry, we just had to make a quick pit stop in the bathroom. Check
break.
in on our investments in Dongguan Jinglong glycerin products.
Yes.
Yeah, industrial glycerin.
Industrial grade.
Check 'em out.
Grade glycerin.
Yeah.
Important.
Very. You're just gonna be on your phone real quick.
Well, I just wanted to check my stocks in Dongguan Jilong.
How are they doing? 50% today.
Industrial grade glycerin products.
I can't believe this bit is making it into the podcast right now.
It is.
Yeah.
It's important.
Anyways, like we were saying, 10 years ago, things were super sick and super dope. There was all sorts of things coming out. It felt like there was always like a new board. Every year there'd be like new boards that were like breaking the mold of what a longboard could be,
Yeah. That, I mean, dude, when Loaded did the Chubby Unicorn, a little late when it came out.
Ooh, wow. Just knife to the heart.
I think it was good for a few years, but it was by the time it dropped, it was too big.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. Yeah, people had moved on
Just
to
a
smaller
little
wheelbases.
too big.
Because when I got mine, I redrilled mine to 26-inch wheelbase.
The
it was like a 28.
The Tesseract was the answer to that, but I think that it was such an innovative board in regards to the plastic that
Yeah, it was a
UHMW
top sheet and then urethane side rails and a basswood core.
It was cool, man. It was really cool.
All sorts of things.
But for free ride application, you were like, what? A board that doesn't die? Like, I'm not going to snap the neck off of it or something if it goes into a curb after me bailing or...
Right. I remember sending mine into a guardrail at 40 miles an hour, and it was fine.
The only person I think who broke one was Carmen.
Yeah. Ironically. Wait, did she? No.
She did. Loading dock. She
you're right.
dropped off a loading dock, intentionally trying to kill it, and folded it. It didn't really die. It just
it
did
mushed.
this weird bend thing.
Interesting. I can vaguely recall that.
Fizz tried to kill it too.
He's a big boy.
At the Angels of Outlaw or whatever in Mountain of Angels.
Oh yeah, Mount Washington.
In Mount Washington, where he tried to bomb drop off a house. And he bent his trucks and blew out his knees. It was just the most
worth it. So worth it.
Just to flat, just jumped off of a roof
and
with
at
his
that,
board.
And at that time, did you get the photo instead of the clip?
It was totally a photo,
yeah.
dude.
It's so worth the snap.
And it's just him crumpling into the.
I think I've seen that photo. I don't know.
He totally just jumped off the roof of a house and put a board under his feet, and it was
sick, dude. We love you, Fizz.
Yeah,
don't think that we don't love you, but we love you.
I'm just kidding. It was pretty substantial for the time.
Well, going back, to all the innovative new designs. So now you have the Simtail. We talked about the Fat Tail last episode, and then the Simtail is a continuation of this board. So with all of your history throughout the past decade, what does the Simtail do for you? How is this? Answer for your riding?
Because free riding was has this way of involving you're doing 180s, 360s. You're constantly changing your direction,
right?
So it behooves you to have a symmetrical layout because whether you're coming or going, it just has this flow to it. You can innovate more. It allows more opportunities to do tricks. It allows more possibilities, to have a symmetrical setup. And I liked riding the Fat Tail in this weird free ride application. It had the wheelbase to support it. I was traveling with it because it was compact enough. And then I was also doing dancing stuff on it. So it just made sense that if the Fat Tail was the Tantien but not the Tantien, and I used to top mount the Tantien, but that was heinous.
Yes, still is.
Yes,
to this day.
And the way the cutouts are on the Tantien with the little, it would torsionally do all kinds of
Oh, right.
funky shit when you do slides, especially if you top mounted it.
Yeah.
It would just like
Yeah, I mean your truck is basically just on like a fork, like like a
Yes.
tuning fork.
yes,
you know?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So it would just vibrate in weird ways when you try and do big stand up slides. So yeah, I mean I needed a fix for that. So naturally, I mean that's why I think the Fat Tail felt so much more planted when doing stand up slides, oddly, because despite the fact that it looked so weird with its camber and its like weird kind of stripped back shape, it still slid really well because it was top mounted, the wheelbase was larger, and it felt planted, you know.
Right.
And so then, you know, basically coming up with something that was symmetrical and still had traits of the Tantien, but then a lot of the good stuff from the camber and the liveliness of the Fat Tail was the avenue I was trying to go for, was trying to merge those two so that you could have a board that you could ride quick, spirited. I wouldn't say downhill, you know.
Like, if they take an excerpt of this podcast and like, well, Your Honor, you see, he said that the board was good for downhill, for high speed riding.
For spirited riding
Oh,
can clearly be
Clearly implied that my client would be able to go to Teutonia and hit 76 miles per hour.
and this is why we need yes, right, exactly.
And Your
Yes.
Honor, that is why my client deserves full restitutions in all of his medical bills, totaling a total of
Exactly.
$2.4 million.
This video will be the evidence
yes,
in the
there's gonna
courtroom.
be evidence.
You know, he'll
Yeah.
like hit the pause button.
Exhibit A for Ari. Yeah. Ari said you could.
It's you can go fast on it. I've done it at Mount Washington. I mean, you have to be light on your feet, but you know, I
mean,
wouldn't.
yeah, you could go fast on any board, you know, if
True.
you have the right setup and whatnot.
But it is a nice cross-platform, like free ride / multi-dimensional dancing platform that has returned enough to still feel carvy and lively, and yeah, that's
It's just
basically
a full package, baby.
I've tried to get as many of those in there as I could, and I think I got somewhere in the middle of it all. And I think that the Simtail is a great board. I think, personally.
Well, you know, I remember when I was like growing up, you know, back in Peru, like I rode a flexi board everywhere. And like when
Yeah.
I got pulled over by the cops, I was on a flexi board, like bombing this hill, you know, going a pretty decent clip. And I remember when I found out about like, you know, downhill boards, and I was like, oh, well, that's obviously what I need. And I got on something that was stiff. I was like, this isn't fun to just like jump out of my house and go skate around and start kicking. Like I have to get up to speed, and then this is cool.
Yeah, and then
you
it
know?
comes alive after like 40 or something, you know,
Nah,
35.
like 30, you know, yeah, skitching off of taxis or something, you know. I was like, yeah, now it's fun, but like kicking around, I was like, it's just so stiff.
Well, I mean, I would ride like I've tried the Tesseract. I mean, riding all of the loaded
you were
boards.
never a Tesseract guy.
I tried the Tesseract, but it just, again, the flex was dead. And the Basalt came around with an idea of trying to remedy that a little bit and create a little more play.
Right.
But it still didn't react the way I wanted to when I wanted it to carve, especially with like those, you know, I don't know what they call it, the Peter Pan steps or whatever, where you're stepping from side to side. You know, I think that's one of my favorites, and I like that when you could lean into it on one foot and you have one foot on the outside and you're crossing over, and that the board deflects a little bit. It gives it this really fun kind of like you're almost
yeah, I know what
walking
you
on
mean.
a cushion, you know, and that is like that's addicting, man.
You know,
I
like,
was
like
and
feel like
the
a
Fat
s-
Tail was really good for that. It
I
had a
feel
lot
like
of camber
a
to
stiff board, you know, with like really
You
loose
know?
trucks, you know, like yeah, you can get it to turn, but it feels like you're kind of riding like a monorail or something, you know, like you're just very much on this one single track, and like that's it.
just
Like
no
you're within these
soul, man.
parameters,
It's just-
but
it
like
didn't have
something,
any spice.
dude, something with flex and kicking around and like doing these kinds of steps, like it makes you feel like you're on a slack line, you know, like
Yes,
it's giving you feedback and you're having to interpolate that data.
I'm not a slackline dude,
Me neither.
but I like
But it's
still
what I
a
imagine,
little bit of that play in there, and I mean,
No, I feel
It's-
like
it's
I don't
good.
have many boards. Like I have
Sure.
the one I like to go fast on, take the hills and stuff. But that one I don't like riding around town. But then I have something really flexy with camber. Currently, it's the Icarus. That's my go-to board if I'm just gonna jump out of my place real quick.
right.
Because if I'm gonna go from A to B, like I want it to be fun the whole way. I want to be able to play with the
It's
pavement.
that feedback, man.
Yeah.
I think I got addicted to that, and the Fat Tail was like the board that gave that feedback. And then, basically when it came to creating this, when Donnie came to me and was like, "Hey, we want to redesign this. I know you're one of the people that was, exploring the Fat Tail the most. If you can impart some wisdom on the redesign of this board, it would be great." And, that's basically where we landed, was like,
Ari as the sole survivor of those who ride the Fat Tail.
well, dude, I did hear rumors that there was a lot of returns on the Fat Tail, that people would see the videos of me like floating around the board and they'd get all excited, like, that's
weren't-
the board I want. I want that.
There
and
weren't
then
a
they'd
lot.
buy it, and then they'd try it out and be like, this is not what I
Like,
want, dude.
How do I do this?
I hate this.
And
then it'd get
there
returned.
There weren't
Dude.
a lot, but there were some. And I remember hearing about it one time.
I'd
I
get
thought
kids
was
that
kinda
would
funny.
message me on Facebook.
Yeah, I remember you
Facebook
telling me about some
Messenger.
dude in like Singapore or something.
Yeah, he said that
Yeah.
he was super hyped about it, and he bought it based on a video and was like, consulted me on it. Like, is this the board I'm gonna want? If I spend my money, is this the one? And I'm like, probably, but I don't know what kind of skating. I've talked to him about his skateboarding. He was like, yeah. It seemed like it checked out. He wanted something with camber, something lively. And I was like, perfect, dude. This is gonna be the board for you. And then, like within a week, immediately writes me back, yeah. So I think I'm gonna return it. It's just not the board for me.
And I think it was because like the taper of the Fat Tail was something you have to get used to. I was always used to a board, like a directional board like that with taper, and I liked it, but I wouldn't move around on it.
I
very
mean,
much,
I think the first time when I wrote it, Dusty brought it to a slide session, and I wrote it, and I was like, this feels so tall. This feels so weird. This is not what I want. So definitely there was a big learning curve to that board. But once you did learn the feedback, it was like, oh wow, there's so much like soul, there's so much vibe in this board. It's like
right.
so much like play. It's such a playful board, especially at low speeds, and then when you start taking it faster, it starts behaving totally differently, where it starts like straightening out, and you have to be very light on your feet. But it was a great, I think, in some sense, like a trainer, in the sense that like once I would step onto a downhill board, it was like, oh my God, this is so planted. This is easy.
This is
man.
all input.
This is easy, compared to like, especially if you were going fast, specifically for going fast. If you, after free riding and riding around on the Fat Tail and being on this like, toothpick knife edge all the time, and then you step it over to an actual downhill platform, it makes you that much better.
I agree. I mean, I think everybody should practice all types of skating there is because
Who's
it only
the-
helps the other branches.
Who's
of
the
skating.
Naruto character that's got the weights that he wears on his arms,
You're talking
dude?
to the wrong person.
You're the
about
Naruto
him.
guy at the
I'm-
office.
No.
That's what they told me, man.
What does that even mean? I've literally never watched an episode of Naruto.
Everybody at the office tells me you're the Naruto guy.
Such a liar. At best, I'm Gohan. Yeah, at best. I'd prefer to be Piccolo because he was just straight
I'm
gangster.
sorry, I'm burning you on the podcast, dude.
Who are you talking? I don't know. I don't follow Naruto.
We all talk at the office, and they're like, yeah, Ethan's the guy. He knows all the Naruto stuff. So if you have any Naruto questions, bring them to him, man.
I hate this so much right now. I don't really get offended, but I am like kind of getting offended right now.
I'm sorry.
Of all the animes, I think Naruto is probably the weakest one.
Just lit you up,
That's
dude.
just me. Naruto fans don't roast me. I just couldn't get into it. Sorry.
Oh, man. I think it's like Naruto was like if you missed the Dragon Ball Z train.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I watched a cool anime. I was there for the Frieza Saga debuting live in the
Nice,
U.S.
yes.
And oh my
Dude,
God, it was
Toonami,
just
baby.
the best. It
Mhm.
was so good. And then they immediately follow up with Cell, and you're like, what? No
Well,
way.
there was like Toonami. It was Adult Swim, basically, right?
Yeah, it eventually morphed into Adult Swim.
Yeah, right. But that's when they started playing like the violent anime. But the, like violent anime was like Cowboy Bebop, where he would just like beat the shit out of a bunch of people.
And the amount of schoolyard injuries skyrocketed at that. But you can see like a direct correlation between like, you know, Frieza getting beat down like on Planet Namek.
Well, they did it on Dragon Ball Z, so
I can't believe we're talking about Dragon Ball Z on this podcast.
that's skateboarding, man.
okay. That is, you know what? That's the heart of skateboarding right there.
That's skateboarding.
And this ties into the Simtail how?
This is how we suss out the important design philosophies at Loaded.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
you
We
have
gather the spirits of all those around us.
you have to really dig into the minutia of why you
So
do
the
what
design
you do.
philosophy of Loaded stems all the way back to pre-feudal Japan, when Dragon Ball Z was still a pipe dream. All right. Anyways, I know you got to get going to your school thing. Ari teaches kids how to do skateboard stuff, and they call him Mr. Riz.
They
believe it or not.
they do not. Oh, you're lighting me up now.
Yeah, they
I
call
like
him
it.
Mr. Riz No Cap. Yeah. Well, you know, we should probably wrap this up. So if my camera's dead, here's another AI photo that I found, and
I mean,
love.
did we get there? Did we hit the skateboarding points? I think
I think we got our points, man. I mean, I just wanted to, you know,
I just
take the scenic route in figuring out like why is the Simtail the way it is?
the
Like,
Simtail is the way it is because it is just an amalgam of all of the different influences of skateboarding that I have experienced over the 20-something years I have been doing this thing.
damn,
And it's
20 years.
It's like some dancing. It's like, I know, right? It's some dancing. It's some free riding. It's like a little just dash of downhill.
All right, Exhibit B.
There it is.
There. Your Honor, he clearly states.
The kid is in the full body cast in
he's
the
just-
courtroom. But
He's just-
I just wanted to go down the hill. I just wanted to skateboard. Ari said that I could downhill this board. He's got the face, his full body cast, dude. So it's just a little hole where his mouthpiece is. where his mouth
just a
is.
straw. He's typing on a keyboard.
That's what it is. He's got the straw. He's intubated while
doing it
he's
again.
in the courtroom.
We're going so off topic.
Again, this is why loaded boards are so good, dude.
They are.
Because they're infused with this knowledge. That's why that's
true.
what you pay for.
It is true.
Yeah. That's you can feel it in the end product.
Yeah.
Other board companies, maybe they do this, but I mean, Tangents are us, baby.
They are definitely you, and you take me along for the ride. I'm just a, like passenger
you
seat.
feed the fire, man. They
I
ain't
do.
no smoke without
I
fire,
instigate.
dude.
I definitely instigate. All right. Well, we should definitely wrap this up because you gotta get going and teach
I gotta
these
go.
kids.
I gotta go
They
teach the
can't
high
miss
school kids.
Yeah, they can't miss their
Im-
mentoring hour with Mr. Riz.
Imparting the wisdom, Mr. Riz's wisdom hour.
Mr. Riz's Gat Club. Sorry, just the word Gat.
Dead ass, dude.
Dead ass. Dead ass Gat, Mr. Riz. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. If you did. If you didn't, then no thank you.
No cap, dude.
Yeah, no cap. If you didn't, no cap. Not dead ass. This has been the Loaded Boardcast Special Edition Simtail Podcast with Ari Chamis Manning.
That is the cherry on the cake, dude.
It is. All right, bud. Let's get going.
I'll
Gotta
see you
go.
next time, y'all.
Peace.